Welcome back for another episode of Virtual Pizzazz for Teachers. I'm Brian Tarallo. I'm here again with Rae Ringel. So Rae, let's talk a little bit about disruptive behavior. It's one thing when I've got disruptive behavior in the classroom, but what do I do when it's in the virtual space?
Good question. It can be rough waters out there sometimes. So I want to give you a couple of tips that you can consider. First is, what are you doing before the class even starts in terms of ground rules or agreements? There's one of my favorites that we even do in the adult facilitation world, which is 3 before me, where students agree that if you speak, you need to wait until 3 other people speak before you can speak again. It's just a way to monitor their involvement so they're not over involved and taking up too much space. Now, 3 might not be enough for some students. You might want 4 before more, or my favorite one that I made up is 10 before again. So it's just something to make them aware of how much they're contributing and where they might need to pull back. Now, the question is, how do you implement that? If you're busy with your curriculum and teaching, you don't necessarily want to be tallying how often people are talking or not. So I think it's always a good idea to assign a student to be the guardian of the ground rules or the agreements. And you, just like you pick someone in the classroom to be the line leader or to have another job, you pick someone in the classroom who is monitoring if people are crossing over the rule of 3 before me or 4 before more. And most students would like to take on that job, especially a younger one, but it's just a way that the students can start holding each other accountable for how much they're speaking. If you're finding that there is some behavior that's getting out of hand with a particular student, while I know that you know this, the idea of public shaming never really seems to work out. And that's actually where I think we can use our chat to the benefit. So I find that when students are acting out in any way, or let's say they're over participating, I will use that opportunity to write them a private chat and just say, hey, notice that you've been participating a lot and you've really been carrying our classroom today. I'd like to ask that maybe you step back and let's see if some of the other students will move forward. Or I've noticed that you've been doing some interrupting. Please make sure to wait until another student finishes until you start again. And just to give them that private chat so we don't necessarily have to do that discipline out loud. If there is really disruptive behavior and something that needs more of a time out, you do have that option of putting that person or a couple of people who are being disruptive back into the waiting room for a minute. It's just a way of kind of cooling down. Imagine them stepping out into the hallway or moving to a different part of the room and just kind of taking a time out. They'll be in the waiting room. You won't be with them in the waiting room, but you can definitely chat in the waiting room and maybe send a message for them to just reflect about what's happening right now, or take some time for themselves to cool down or to walk around if they feel like they need to get their energy out. And then you can invite them back into the room. Obviously, some people think that you can automatically put people on mute when they're getting out of hand or being disruptive, but I would definitely use that for more of an extreme situation. Another way that you can help with the disruptive behavior is to make sure that you have a co-facilitator or a co-teacher with you, so that when you're really focused on the curriculum, your co-teacher or facilitator can be really monitoring the room and noticing what is happening and if anyone needs to be addressed personally in the chat. Remember, we want to assume positive intent, give people the benefit of the doubt. So if kids seem to be distracted or doing other things, they might be doing work off to the side, they might be doodling, or it might be a moment where you really need to read the energy of the room. If you're seeing that all these students are distracted, it might be a moment to say, hey, do we need to take a 3-minute break? Do we all need to get up and stretch? I'm noticing that there's a lot of shifting in the seats or getting up and down. Should we take a 3-minute break? You can launch a poll in Zoom and ask who wants to take a break or what people need right now to be more focused. It's a way to kind of break the behavior that's going on and actually invite the students to articulate what they need or what they actually want in that moment. Finally, I'll just say, as an instructor, as a facilitator, I think it's really important to also notice, to check in with our own assumptions about the behavior. So is this behavior that needs an intervention, or is this just bugging me personally for some reason? I find sometimes that I might have a trigger point or something that's getting under my skin, and it's not actually really impacting the class. It's just actually impacting me. So I'm really looking at, is this a pattern? Is this something that's just bothering me? Is this something that needs to be dealt with in the moment, or can we wait till after class or after the break? Is this something I can deal with the student directly? Or is this something where I might need to get the parents involved or the school leadership? And then finally, I'll say that if you're noticing more systemic disruptive behavior in the class, is this the time to break the pattern of the class and do something like cameras off and asynchronistic work, or throw everyone into breakouts, or quickly pull up a YouTube video and let people lose themselves in a 3-minute clip? Is there something you can do in the moment to break the pattern and break that cycle of disruption so they can kind of tune out and do something different, and then when they come back, they'll be refreshed and renewed? So obviously this depends on the situation, on the student, and on the disruption. But I do think we have creative ways to deal with disruptive behavior, both in the moment and after class.
Well, Rae, thank you very much for your time and your ideas. I really appreciate it. And to our viewers, if there are any comments or things that you'd like us to tackle in future episodes, please put them in the comments below. Thanks.